YouTube world. How has everybody been? How did y'all spend the holidays? I hope they were enjoyable and peaceful. So, today I wanted to discuss the current operations of the Lost Trail Lodge. There's been rumors online that it's been boarded up and that nobody lives there at the moment. So, let's see if the evidence supports that, if the information supports that. I would also like to briefly visit Lindsey's mermaid art that came out in October. And let's take a look at whether the lodge actually has internet and cell phone coverage or not. So let's dive right in. As you guys can see, on September 19th, Lost Trail Lodge posted on their Instagram that they have indeed reopened for the fall. Smoke has cleared and the trails are excellent. Life is short, take a ride. So this is less than a month after Kiely's body and car were found in the lake. And these are the tourists that visited the lodge right before New Year's. And I ask you to please be kind and not disturb these people. It genuinely seems like they had no idea about any backstory of the lodge. It's a big family traveling with in-laws for the holidays, and they visited a bunch of places in California. I whited out their names just for their privacy and their faces. But you can find this on the internet. It's in Lost Trail Lodge's tagged posts. And this group of people visited Lost Trail Lodge for a few days just before New Year's. So they were there for several days. And they were accompanied by Kiely's dog. You can see him right here. His name is Doc. And this is another picture from the same series. People actively visiting the Lost Trail Lodge. We can see Kiely's dog. Isn't he beautiful? All right, so that's very interesting because the rumor had it that the lodge was boarded up. No one is staying there right now. The operations didn't proceed. And, that's why the whole GoFundMe thing was necessary, because the business was not able, supposedly, to operate as usual. But we can see that the disruption was really minimal. They paused for, 5-6 weeks. And if you guys remember at the celebration of life, Lindsey said that there's no time to dwell on these things. We should get back to business. They have to get back to work. And yeah, she meant it. The lodge did reopen in September. Next, I wanted to visit Lindsey's Etsy store. And this art of hers came out in October. I, to be honest, didn't want to actively talk about it because I try to keep the parents out of situations like this. But in this investigation, it is important to look at the people closest to Kiely, including her family, because questions need to be asked. And we, as a community of people who care about this case and about this girl, we do deserve whatever clarity we can get in this mysterious and unsolved case. So Lindsey's name is right here. So she's the owner of the store, Lindsey Neiman. The store used to be called Cantankerous Artist, and now it's Your Winter Witch. And if we zoom into this particular product, this is street art or graffiti. So it depicts a graffiti of a sea maiden. And I took this definition from thesaurus. What are other words for a sea maiden? Those would be siren, mermaid, ocean nymph, sea nymph. So very obvious mermaid theme here. And another thing that caught my attention is that This art, this graffiti is from Santa Cruz Island in Ecuador, and I checked the map. So Santa Cruz, Ecuador is actually Galapagos Islands. And if you guys remember, during Kiely's celebration of life, Lindsey said that when Kiely was 7, she would only bathe in a creek near their home. Kiely hated the winter but was the first to suggest December pond skating. Kiely went to Europe for the first time when she was 2 and had been back 2 more times. She had traveled to Pompeii and Iceland and swam in the Galapagos. So Kiely visited Galapagos Islands, Santa Cruz in Ecuador, and you guys draw your own conclusions. I think it's very poor optics to be selling totes with mermaids from Galapagos, one of the last places Kiely visited. That's just strange to me personally, and I'm not going to say more. I'm just presenting the information. You guys can, as always, draw your own conclusions. Next, I found this clipping from a magazine. So this is an article from 2015 on the Lost Trail Lodge. It's very, very short, and it has some interesting information on the internet. See right here, it says they do have satellite internet, and there is also a mention of Hawaii. So I would like to read this one pager with y'all. The article is named Lost and Found, written for, looks like, On Location Sierra by Megan Mickelson. Short introduction. Photos. We can see this is Kiely and Tony. And the article reads, "The lodge, which is solar powered with a backup generator, lies deep in the Sierra's Coldstream Canyon, a granite divide in the shadows of Tahoe's Donner Pass," which is a place I personally would not want to live with the history of the Donner Pass, but it's everyone's personal choice, right? "There are no neighbors back here, and the ski terrain seems endless. Steep above the tree chutes and bowls drop off the Pacific Crest's bony ridgeline, a few miles uphill from the lodge, and gentle, low-angle trees surround the lodge's backyard. Nothing out here is convenient," says Lindsey, who's 35, "but there's something about living out here that's grown on us." Lindsey's parents, David and Kathleen Robertson, bought land here in 1998 and started building a lodge, a process David expected to take 2 years. 5 years and many truckloads later, they had a 3,700 square foot log home decorated with stringed instruments, wooden skis, old snowshoes, mariachi hats, a red canoe hanging from the ceiling, and more. This is no sparse hut. 5 bedrooms come equipped with down comforters and gas stoves, and several have jacuzzi tubs crafted from river stones. The kitchen has a double oven and a wolf range. So I wasn't familiar with wolf ranges. Turns out that wolf is a brand, and a range is like a wide stove with 1 or 2 ovens underneath. The lodge first opened in 2003. David and Kathleen lived in a small nearby cabin that overlooked a beaver pond, and David would greet guests at the trailhead to shuttle them to the lodge on an 87 Tucker Snowcat. News of the paradise not far from Truckee trickled out, and groups would skim out on winter evenings to score freshies in the morning. Susie Sutphin, a Tahoe resident who was working at Kulwa magazine at the time, was among the first regular guests. "I feel like I'd literally get lost on my way here, and I'd leave the world behind me," Sutphin says. Then, right out of the door of the lodge, you have phenomenal skiing off the main ridge, with both south and north-facing aspects. You can't even put this place into the hut category. It's a super nice house in the backcountry with granite countertops and potbelly stoves. So, more pictures. And let's read on. Eventually, the Lost Trail Lodge got some press. A story in the San Francisco Chronicle, for starters, which brought in weekend warriors from the Bay Area for soft adventures, as Lindsey calls it. Backcountry skiing with 3-course dinners and a comfortable bed. Lindsey started coming out here each spring to help her dad, and in 2005, when she had a daughter, Kiely, she brought her baby out as well. In 2010, Lindsey moved to the lodge full-time with Kiely and her partner, Tony Neiman, whom she married 4 years later. Her dad cashed in on a much-deserved break from snow removal and called to check in from the beaches of Hawaii. So this is interesting, right? It turns out Kiely's grandpa lived in Hawaii, or spent quite a bit of time there, and we've seen several links to Hawaii in this case. During their first Thanksgiving at the lodge in 2011, it snowed 6 feet, and Tahoe got slammed with 700 inches of snow, a banner season in the Sierra. Skiers arrived in droves, and Tony and Lindsey spent months shoveling. Since then, winters have been less plentiful, but skiers will show up. Lindsey and Tony now have a son, Shepard, age 2. Kiely, now 10, is homeschooled through an independent study program, but her best education may come from the wilderness that surrounds her. When we talk about what Kiely likes about living out here, it's the same things that we like: the proximity to nature, the smell of the forest, the sound of the creeks, the effort it takes to get home, Lindsey says. Each fall, the family preps for the coming winter, chopping 5 cords of wood and stocking the pantry with oatmeal and canned veggies, 200 pounds of dog food, and 300 rolls of toilet paper. Some winter mornings, Tony wakes early to spin a few laps on the slopes near the lodge. A skin trek up the closest ridge leads to a 2,000 vertical foot pitches through mellow, treed runs of untracked snow. He'll invite friends out for bigger missions, like the 8,600 foot Anderson Peak, which offers steep, sustained terrain in all directions. But much of Tony's day is spent working, clearing the sonar panels, fixing a broken snowmobile, or changing the oil in a dozen different machines. This is the picture from the inside of the lodge that we're very familiar with. All right, last few paragraphs. Lindsey, who worked as a housekeeper before moving out here, and I wanted to make a quick stop here because there was rumor on the internet of what job Lindsey actually held before she moved out to the lodge, and some people said that she had a high-paying job, and right here it says that she worked as a housekeeper. Lindsey spends her time caring for the children and running the guest lodge, cleaning, taking reservations, and fielding questions. How long will it take us to get to the lodge is a popular question, to which Lindsey answers. It can take between 1 and 7 hours depending on various factors. It's a little ironic living out here, Lindsey says. We have this beautiful environment around us, but all the work that's necessary to keep the place running takes up so much of our time. It feels a little like a mountain version of Little House on the Prairie. In their home, Kiely loves playing the musical instruments that dot the living area, while Shepard climbs the ladders into the lofted sleeping areas or rides tractors with his dad. Making money isn't their end goal. The business makes enough to cover the basics, but that's about it. We have enough to go to the thrift store for supplies and buy groceries, says Lindsey. They do have satellite internet, but it's dial-up era slow. And that was in 2015, guys. So why would they say that 8 years later the lodge was off the grid? It's not very clear to me. They do have satellite internet, but it's dial-up era slow, and their only other mode of communication with the outside world is a flip phone that picks up spotty service from just the right spot. So again, I would think that 8 years later, now that we have iPhones with stronger antennas, they should be catching some signal there. So, does this family in the woods feel disconnected living at the base of snow capped peaks and miles down an impassable road? The answer is a clear no. People are always like, "Don't you feel isolated out there?" Tony says. But the truth is, we love it out here. It would be hard to move back to town. And this is the picture of a person skiing. I would very much want to hear your opinion and feelings about the lodge being actively open and receiving guests. Like, nothing's happened since September because I absolutely understand an actively running business, the need to make money, all of that. I understand the logical part, but just something about it doesn't sit right with me, so I wanted to raise this topic and discuss it. And then, what about the optics of just this Etsy tote that Lindsey is selling? Again, is it just me or is this odd? Like it's absolutely bizarre to me, to be honest. But that's just my opinion. And yeah, we'll talk again soon. Bye.